He doesn't miss. Not commands. Not cues. Not lies. So when my German shepherd, Ghost, launches at my brother in front of our father's casket, I know it isn't grief. It's a call-out. The chapel is still. Rain ticks on stained glass like a metronome for the heartbeats we're pretending are steady. The flag on Dad's coffin is folded so sharp it could cut skin. Marines did it this morning. Hands sure, faces unreadable. He kept his corners clean, one of them said. He wasn't wrong. My father, Daniel Kane, contractor, donor, man who loved rules the way other men loved whiskey. Today I'm the executor of his estate and the older son who learned to stand still under pressure. Today I'm also the handler of a dog who doesn't make mistakes. Ethan steps forward in a black suit that fits like a borrowed promise. He lays a palm on the casket, bows his head, and speaks without a crack in his voice. He trusted me, he says. It's the kind of sentence that plays well to rooms full of regrets. Ghost's ears flick. A tiny tell, half-millimeter of muscle, but I've seen him signal a buried pressure plate with less. I lay 2 fingers on his collar, steady. He ignores me. That's not how he's trained. Hymns rise. Condolences follow like candle smoke, drifting, clinging to clothes, to nerves. People orbit the donation box at the back of the hall. Envelopes stack in a white basket, printed with the name of Dad's foundation. For the community center, they whisper. The one he drew in pencil on napkins, the one with light and open doors. I keep seeing that blueprint. I keep smelling something that doesn't belong. It hits when Ethan smiles for the widow of Dad's partner, Mrs. Delaney. It's a fine smile, too straight at the eyes. Ghost goes statue still, weight forward. I catch it then, a faint sting of toner and solvent riding under carnations and rain. It pulls a thread in my mind back to 2 nights ago, Dad's study. The safe 3 inches out of plumb, the dial rough under my fingertips. He taught me to notice when corners weren't clean. Easy, I whisper. Ghost doesn't blink. His gaze is glued to Ethan's right hand. Cuff rides up as my brother gestures. Ink. A purplish smear. And just beneath the jacket hem, the sharp rectangle of something slim and stiff. Card or document, tucked against his ribs. For a breath, my grief sits down and my training stands up. People press in around the casket. I keep my voice even. Walk, I tell Ghost. He heals like a shadow with opinions. We angle out of the receiving line, past a table of sugar cookies and past memories, into the side corridor where the church keeps its business out of sight. My shoes whisper on old runner carpet. The boiler hums like a low threat. At the end, the office door, light leaking under the jamb. A whisper leaks with it. Wire before probate. He won't know until the court reads it. My hand cools. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's everything. I don't try the knob. I listen. Another voice answers. Lower, careful male. I catch only fragments. Scanner, originals, sign now. Footsteps. The latch turns. I pivot back with Ghost at knee, posture harmless, eyes indifferent. The door opens, and Ethan is there with a cardboard smile and pupils that pin when he clocks the dog. You shouldn't bring him everywhere, he says. People are grieving. He's good with grief. I say. He's bad with lies. Ghost moves an inch. Not closer, tighter, coiled. Ethan angles his body, a shoulder partially turned, right hand disappearing toward his jacket. Ghost explodes. It isn't wild. It's math. A single lunge that erases distance and pins Ethan back against the plaster, forelegs planted, chest driving knees. A bark that detonates the corridor and ricochets down old wood. Frozen in the air, teeth like white punctuation, exactly 1 inch from fabric. In that inch lives every choice I've ever made. Stand, I command. Ghost locks, eyes burning holes in my brother's hands. People shout. A deacon takes a step, and I slice a palm toward him without looking away. Don't touch him, I say. He's on target. What is wrong with you? Ethan spits, a crack at the edge of polished calm. Get your dog off me. I nod to Ghost. Back. He peels away, gluing himself to my leg, silent but ready. I open the office with my shoulder. Inside, A folding table with a portable scanner warm to the touch, its lid still blinking. A fountain pen bleeding a celestial blue. 3 estate documents fanned like a card trick. The top signature is my father's name written with the wrong slant to the K. I don't breathe for a count of 4. On the chair, a slim keycard. On the floor by the desk, a shred bin with flecks like confetti from a party no one should have thrown. Accounting is processing donation receipts. Ethan says, too quickly, too cleanly. This is not. Which bank? I ask. He blinks. For the wire you mentioned. I clarify, like we're doing a crossword together. Before probate. Color drains a shade. He laughs a breath that isn't laughter. You always overreact, Alex. Dad trusted me to. Don't talk about Dad. The words come out soft and heavy. Ghost noses the shred bin, huffs, and bumps it again. I tip it with my toe. Out slide strips and triangles. Transfer confirmations, a Delaware LLC with a good liar's name, J. Clark. Routing numbers that talk to each other like thieves passing notes in a classroom. A donation ledger with a gap where numbers should be, pixels slightly off like a pasted patch on a uniform sleeve. You forged him. I say, not loud, because loud makes people defensive and truth does the job just fine. When he was on morphine, his mouth opens, closes. He looks like a boy who swallowed a coin. He wanted me to take care of it. He manages. You weren't here. All those deployments, your hero act. He left me to sweep the floors. Ghost's ears swivel. He recognizes the sound of resentment wearing a suit. So do I. It's an old song in our house. He got the rules, you got the adventure. He got the bedside, I got the battlefield. We both got our father's expectations like weights on our chests. 2 nights ago, at 0400, Dad called me from a bed that smelled like antiseptic and Sundays. If I don't wake, blue folder goes to you, he said. Safe code is your birthday backward. He coughed, laughed, swore at the pain, and added, don't let Ethan rush anything. He rushes. Dad didn't say that because he was cruel. He said it because he was precise. In the doorway, a soft cough. Mrs. Delaney stands with her purse clutched to ribs, eyes wet and fierce. Your father told me to give you this if the corners weren't clean, she says, and the phrase tilts the room because he used those words on me, too. From the purse, a small flash drive and a sealed envelope with my name in block letters that start strong and fade, like he fell asleep at the end of my name. Ethan tries to step forward. Ghost rocks. Ethan freezes. I slot the drive into the laptop on the table. A video blooms. Dad. Thinner, but eyes bright as ever. Alex, he says, like he's just stepped out to the workshop and back. If you're seeing this, I was right about the men whispering to your brother. He lists a shell, an account, a route. He names the siphon and the hand on the valve. He ends with, let truth take the blows, son. It never bruises. For 3 seconds, the only sound is the scanner's fan. Ethan's shoulders drop like a stage rope cut with a knife. He picked you to be the hero, he says, voice sanded down to the boy he used to be. He always did. Dad didn't pick heroes, I say. He picked finishers. Footsteps, firmer now. The deacon again, a couple of family friends, a detective I texted 10 minutes ago who owed Dad a favor and came herself, Mara Singh. Rain on her coat, eyes that measure rooms for exits and alibis. Mr. Kane, she says to Ethan, voice like a scalpel. Hands where I can see them. Ghost doesn't move. He watches my brother's fingers rise. He watches the slim card fall to the table. He watches me not shake. He is a dog, yes, but he is also the only thing in this room that knew what was wrong before the rest of us were ready to admit it. I lay a palm on his neck, feel the heat and the steadiness. Good eyes, I whisper. He leans into the touch for half a second, then stares past me, through me, at the folded flag and the man who taught us both to keep our corners clean. The rain stops. The room breathes. And somewhere between the hymn and the handcuffs, grief finds its shape. The chapel empties slower than a storm drains. Little eddies of family and favors circling the doors. Mara takes Ethan to a side room with 2 uniforms and a deacon who prays without getting in the way. I sign 3 forms I don't want to read and pocket the sealed envelope with my name on it. The flash drive goes into my inner jacket like a second rib. Ghost walks at heel, silent, tail low, eyes still hot. Outside, the rain has washed the parking lot clean and left the air tasting like pennies and pine. I load Ghost into the back of the truck and sit with the engine off, hands on the wheel, forehead tapping the leather once, twice. Grief wants to pull me under. Duty throws a rope. 2 nights ago returns in clean, hard frames. My father's study smelled like cedar dust and old coffee. He'd built the shelves himself, spent a Saturday arguing with a level until the world agreed to be straight. The safe sat in the corner behind the chair where he did taxes like a ritual. On the day the hospital called to say he might not come home, I came here to check on things that suddenly felt heavier than walls. Ghost patted ahead, nose working. He paused at the safe and looked back at me. It sat 3 inches off plumb, just enough that the shadow under its left foot didn't match the right. People who steal from you always believe you won't notice tiny angles. I spun the dial. Dad taught me years ago, clockwise until you feel home, back until the numbers line up like soldiers on parade. It opened on the 2nd rotation, not the 3rd. Someone in a hurry had relatched without testing the sequence. Inside, bonds, a pistol wrapped in oilcloth, a blue folder labeled in his square caps. Transition, holdings. The folder was missing. Ghost nosed the carpet. He stopped at the window, sniffed the sill, then the desk. His ears flicked toward the wastebasket. I tilted it. Shreds of blue heavier than junk mail sat at the bottom like caught fish. I sifted. They weren't from the folder, just a Walgreens bag. Panic likes coincidence. Training hates it. I closed the safe, locked it fully, and set a trap Dad would have approved of. I taped a single hair from Ghost's brush to the back edge of the safe door, microscopic and stupidly effective. If anyone opened it, the hair would be gone. Then I slid a thin strip of paper between the baseboard and the safe's foot so that the 3-inch sin would leave a signature if adjusted. I called Ethan. "You been by the house?" I asked, making it sound casual, which was work. "Mrs. Delaney said you picked up some documents." Silence that wasn't static. "Yeah," he said finally. "Bank wanted account verifications." I grabbed the folder. "I'll scan and bring them back to the lawyer." "Which bank?" "You don't trust me." He chuckled, a sound he'd learned from Dad and filled with something Dad never used. "You're the executor. Relax. Grief makes puzzles out of nothing. Grief does make puzzles. But Ghost hates puzzles only he can't solve. He paced the study with the restless geometry that means a story is out of order. Back in the present, I start the truck. Ghost shifts, head between the seats. His breath fogs the air. I scratch his cheek. "We're not done. The house is 7 minutes away if lights are green and memory doesn't slow your foot. The porch lamp is still on from a lifetime ago. Inside, I can hear the clock in the hall that only needs winding when you forget it exists. Dad never forgot it. I wind it now with the stupid care you give to things that suddenly feel like people." Ghost goes straight to the study. He edges the safe with his nose, then looks at me. The hair trap is gone. The paper shim is crumpled, slipped all the way under where weight dragged it. He met someone here since I left. Someone who left corners messy. I kneel. The carpet fibers bear a faint groove from a dolly wheel. Someone rolled something heavy to the window, then back. Ghost's nose follows the path, sniffing at the sill, the lock, the screen. There's a smear of something like pollen mixed with toner on the sash. Someone opened it, bypassed the obvious door camera, came in like a friend of dust, and left like a rumor. "Sit," I tell Ghost. He sits. His tail thumps once. He hates sitting when the hunt is live, but he trusts the process. I open the safe the right way and stare at the empty slot where the blue folder should be, then at its twin, another blue folder with Dad's penciled notes about the community center. I pull the twin, flip it. Margins full of handwriting that starts strong and gets tired toward the end. More light in the reading room. He argues with himself in the margin. Open doors on Sundays. He circled, open, twice like it mattered more than the glass. On the desk, The blotter carries a ghost of carbon from a note written hard and torn out. I lay a blank sheet over it and shade with the side of a pencil. Letters rise like bruises under skin. Wire before probate. Delaney widow confirm. J. Clark. He pressed too hard, writing a lie to himself. It left a map. Ghost woofs. He's at the door, ears toward the hall. A car slows outside. Tires on wet blacktop. I kill the light and step to the window, look through the slat. A black SUV idles one house down. The window is up. The driver is a shadow. He doesn't linger long. He rolls forward and disappears like good trouble does. I take photos. I text Mara, hair trap breached. Blue folder gone. Got an imprint note. Black SUV scouting. She replies in a minute. Keep physicals. Don't touch more. We'll pull camera canvas. And Alex, don't do your ex-army thing solo. A wry face emoji follows, which I ignore because partners are earned the hard way, and I'm still learning. I'm halfway to the kitchen when the memory that bothered me all morning snaps into place. The smell in the chapel, the sting of fresh toner and solvent, wasn't just in the office. It was on Ethan, on his cuffs, right hand, and the rectangle under his jacket wasn't just any card. It was a key card for the bank where Dad refused to move his accounts because their manager changed too often. I like hands I know, he said, and shook the small credit union manager's hand every December with a tin of cookies. Ghost pads to the fridge and noses the bottom drawer, the one with the tin. Habit. Dad used to keep jerky there. I open it, and the smell hits, smoke and pepper, and a note. Literally, a note taped under the drawer liner in Dad's block letters. If corners aren't clean, call Sing. Tell her the code is doors. She hates jokes. I bark a laugh that sounds like a cough. I call Mara. He left you a joke, I say, and a code. Of course he did, she says. Text me a photo of what you found. I'll run the shell name. J. Clark. She exhales through her teeth. I've seen that one. He's a suit with a habit of changing phones and attending funerals he wasn't invited to. Black SUV, I say. Figures. Stay put. And Alex, good work. Compliments feel wrong today. I hang up and sit on the study floor with my back against the desk. Ghost settles with a sigh, head on my boot, eyes on the doorway. The house tightens around us like a fist unclenching. I open the envelope with my name. Inside, a single page, shaky but deliberate. Executor. It starts because Dad loved rolls. If there's a fight, let truth take the blows. You and that dog of yours taught me that. He lists 3 accounts, 2 contact names, and 1 sentence that sets my jaw. Don't let Ethan rush. He underlined rush twice. I don't know if you can feel a command echoing through a house, but I do. I stand. Ghost. He looks up. Track toner. I say, because sometimes the obvious works. He blinks, processing. Then he stands and noses the air, moves to the hall, the front door, back to the study, to the window again. He whines once, frustrated. The trail is drowned in rain. Okay, I say low. We pivot. We're not bloodhounds. We're finishers. We don't always chase the scent straight. Sometimes we cut the angle. I pull Dad's ledger, the last reconciliation he did himself, and lay it next to the donation list from the chapel. 3 names appear in both columns with tiny asterisks Dad used when he meant to revisit something. Mrs. Delaney, a church treasurer named Abel Cardoza, and Clark Consulting, temp transition. Dad circled that one and wrote, no. Who approved? Ghost watches me build a war board on the kitchen table with fridge magnets and post-its. A battlefield drawn in ink and spite. His tail beats a slow metronome. He doesn't understand paper. He understands the tone people use when they mean, we finish what we start. The doorbell rings. Not urgent. Persistent. I slide a look at Ghost. Place, I murmur. He goes to the side of the doorway, sits where teeth are useful and bodies are invisible. I open the door. Mrs. Delaney stands under a plastic rain hood, eyes rimmed red, a casserole like a shield. He told me to bring you this when the rain stopped, she says, voice trembling. Your father. He said you would understand. She hands me the dish. It's heavier than food. Taped under the foil is a small metallic rectangle. Bank keycard. The same rectangle I saw ghosting under Ethan's jacket. Why me? She asks, more to the rain than to me. Why would he do this to his own brother? I could say greed. I could say insecurity. I could say grief makes fools of us all. Instead I say, because Dad trusted the wrong corner once. We're going to square it. Behind my knee, Ghost breathes out, steady as a vow. By dusk, the church corridors smell like lemon polish and the last of the coffee gone bitter. Mara texts, holding Ethan at the precinct for statement. Don't talk to him. Sit tight. I'm pulling bank logs. Sitting tight has never been my gift. Finishing is. I slide Mrs. Delaney's key card into my wallet and drive to St. Jude's Annex on the pretext of signing release forms for the donations. Ghost rides in the back, head up, ears working the way radio operators used to ride static. We park behind the hall. The alley is a strip of wet brick and humming vents. The reception office light is still on, same thin glow under the jam I saw earlier. Place, I whisper. Ghost pads to the hinged side. Out of sight, a statue with a heartbeat. I knock. A pause. Lock shift. The door opens 2 inches on a chain. Abel Cardoza, the treasurer, peers out. He's in his 60s, shoulders rounded from years of counting other people's giving. His eyes jump to a point over my shoulder, as if looking for permission. Evening, Mr. Cardoza. I need to reconcile the donation basket from today with Dad's fund account. I hold up a clipboard with blank paper and the church letterhead I printed from their public site. Executor check. He fumbles the chain. I thought that young man, your brother, said he would handle it. Yeah, I say. That's why I'm here. His face twitches with a grief that isn't for my father. He lets me in. The office is smaller than a confessional. Formica desk, a beige scanner/printer combo, donation envelopes stacked with rubber bands. The portable scanner I saw earlier is gone. In its place, a fresh box of toner slid open. The air carries that same solvent sting, like something living under the lemon. Accounts log. I ask. He hands me a spiral ledger. Old school. Numbers in pencil, names in a neat hand. I flip to today's date. Amounts are listed, but 3 entries were tiny squares in the upper right corner. Mrs. Delaney, 2 anonymous envelopes, and 1 from workshop friends. Dad's circle, labeled by the name of the room where he gave away more time than money. What do the squares mean? I ask. Those are the ones that young man said to set aside for immediate deposit to transitional consulting before probate, so the center wouldn't be delayed. He swallows. He was so sure. Ghost claws tick the tile once, his version of raising a hand. I set the ledger down. Mr. Cardoza, did you make any copies of instructions? Emails, memos. He nods, points to the tray by the printer. 2 sheets. The letterhead belongs to Clark Consulting, Transition Management. The email footer is a generic domain that screams burner account to anyone who has ever chased ghosts through a server log. The language is oily and precise. Expedite transitional processing, reduce tax exposure, honor decedent's intentions. The signature is J. Clark, managing partner, with a phone number that will be dead by morning. Did my father sign anything with these people? I ask. He signed a general authorization months back for vendor vetting, Abel says. The page with names was blank then. It was supposed to be filled after board approval. He drops his eyes. I suppose someone filled it. I take photos. I slide 1 sheet into my jacket with Abel's nod. I don't need both. 1 is enough to fix a corner. Thank you, I say, for not rushing. He gives a small, sad smile. Your father liked things balanced at the end of the day. He used to stand right there, he points to the doorway, and say, Abel, if the corners are clean, we can sleep. I leave him with his ledgers and a space that smells like lemons fighting a losing battle. Out in the corridor, Ghost rises without a sound and falls in at heel. We pass the donations room, the one with the folding table where the portable scanner sat. It's empty now, but the table bears 4 fresh divots from rubber feet. The distance between divots matches the feet on the scanner Abel has. not the portable I saw earlier. Someone swapped hardware. Why? Portable leaves with you. Desk unit stays. If you're moving documents fast and quiet, you don't want a trail of serial numbers. We hit the exit and almost collide with Ethan. He fills the doorway like he owns the air. No cuffs. No escort. Mara must have released him pending follow-up. White-collar holds don't look like TV. He's changed from the funeral suit into a dark jacket, and the rectangle I clocked at his ribs is gone. His eyes do a quick inventory. My face, Ghost's face, my hand in my jacket. Looking for more ways to embarrass me? He says, voice low enough to keep it out of public record. Looking for Dad's money. I say, the part you signed to your new friends. He makes a face like something sour. You don't understand how this works. There's timing, there are tax consequences, there are crimes, I say. He steps closer. Ghost's weight shifts. The hallway light paints a thin line on Ethan's cheekbone. For a heartbeat, I see the kid who broke his arm falling out of the cedar tree because he didn't listen when Dad said wait. The same stubborn tilt. The same need to prove he could fly. Do you know what it was like? Ethan says, the mask slipping just enough to show skin. You off in uniforms and sand. Phone calls where he called you sir as a joke because he respected you even when he was teasing. Me here with the bills and the leaks and the Christmas lights that never worked. And when he gets sick, who does he call? You. For the code. He laughs in a way that hurts. You think this is about money. It's about proof. That you could manage what he built? I ask. You could have. Without the shortcuts. He shakes his head. You don't build anything slow anymore, Alex. You move. You wire. You optimize. Mom died while you were optimizing your life in another country. Dad died while you were optimizing your integrity. He steps even closer. I got tired of being the one who waits by the phone. The words find places in me I wish were armored. Ghost rumbles once. A sound that says he feels my heart speed up from 6 feet away. Where's the blue folder? I ask. He smiles with just the left side of his mouth. Safe. Whose? Not yours. I move without looking like I'm moving, a half step that slides us into the office I just left. He lets himself be steered because his pride is louder than his sense. Ghost circles behind him, quiet as a habit. Show me the authorization you had for Clark. I say. I don't owe you. I tilt my head at the camera bubble in the ceiling. This room records, I lie. You want to put context on the tape. He snorts, but pulls a folded packet from his jacket. Fresh copies. He fans them out like a dealer. On top, a photocopy of Dad's signature. Underneath, a page adding Clark Consulting as a temporary transition vendor as needed. The date stamp is the day Dad slipped into palliative meds. I lean in. The K is wrong. Again, the loop is there, but the angle's off. If forgery is a crime of degrees, Ethan has a degree. You're not good at this, I say softly. His jaw sets. He reaches to snatch the page back. Ghost is faster. A blur of fur and intention and perfect restraint. He pins Ethan's wrist to the table edge with the gentlest teeth a man will ever feel. Not breaking skin, just owning motion. Ethan freezes, shock white under funeral tan. Release, I say. Ghost lifts, returns to heel, posture saying, say please next time. You trained him to hate me, Ethan whispers. No, I say. You trained him to read you. He sags into the chair like the air has weight. For a few breaths, we listen to a building settle. Somewhere, a pipe knocks. Somewhere else, a door closes on a prayer. You could have just asked for help, I say. I did, he says. My whole life. It's too honest and too late. Footsteps. Mara appears in the doorway, coat off now, badge on belt like an opinion you can't argue with. She nods to me, then to Ethan. Mr. Kane, she says. We have questions about an entity called Clark Consulting. You can answer them here with your brother present, or we can go to a quieter room. Ethan looks at me, at Ghost, at the ceiling as if somewhere up there Dad is shaking his head and laughing because the boys have made a mess again. He chooses the quieter room. Pride always does, even when it's tired. While they shift him, I take one more lap of the office. Under the chair, a half-torn corner of blue folder tab sticks to the carpet like a scab. I pull it free. The label is Dad's handwriting. Transition. Holdings. Proof of flight path. Proof of landing. I slip it into my pocket with the bank key card, the email printout, and the letter that tells me to let truth take the blows. At the doorway, Ghost bumps my knee. He's ready to move forward. So am I. Outside, the rain has turned to mist. The chapel's stained glass throws color onto wet pavement, the kind of light you can only see after storms. I send Mara the photos and the bank's keycard code number embossed faint on the plastic. She replies, "Good. Judge on call." Freezing motions next. Freezing. A word with teeth. On the steps, Mrs. Delaney stands with her hands clasped like she's holding something invisible and breakable. "Will it be okay?" she asks. "No," I say, because lying to people like her is its own crime. "It will be finished." I add, softer, "and then it will be okay." She nods like she understands the difference. Ghost sits at heel, eyes on the parking lot, nose tasting the air for a man in a suit who attends funerals he's not invited to. Somewhere out there, a black SUV idles in a different alley. Somewhere closer, a corner waits to be cleaned. "Let's square it," I tell Ghost. He stands. Tail flick. The smallest smile a dog can wear. We go. Morning breaks thin and colorless, the kind of light that makes everything look honest whether it wants to be or not. Mara's text lands at 6:14. Temporary freeze granted. Clark entities flagged. Need chain of custody on your physicals. Meet at your dad's study 8 o'clock. 2 dots appear, then a third. Also, expect noise. Noise arrives early. A black SUV idles across from the house like a comma that refuses to end the sentence. Ghost is at the window before I am. Head high, tail straight. A low hum in his chest that's not quite a growl. The SUV rolls a foot forward, then stops, enough to say we're watching without admitting to it. The passenger window dips just enough to reveal a silhouette. Jawline, sunglasses, a watch too expensive to be humble. I step onto the porch with Ghost at heel. No words. No gestures. The SUV glides away, turning the corner like a shark easing under a pier. Ghost sniffs the morning air, filing the scent in whatever cabinet his brain uses for men who bring problems. Inside, I stage the study like a scene that can testify. Photos of the hair trap's absence. The paper shim crushed under the safe foot. The shaded carbon imprint. The donor ledger marks. Mrs. Delaney's keycard in a fresh evidence sleeve. The torn tab from the blue folder. All lined in a clean arc on the desk blotter. Dad would approve the corners. Mara arrives with a small team. One tech with a Pelican case, another officer with a chain of custody log, and the posture of someone who enjoys paperwork a little too much. She scans the room like she's building a mental 3D model. "You were not kidding about corners," she says. "Your father and I would have gotten along. Only if you like people who argued with levels," I say. She smiles without moving her mouth. "Walk me through." I do, step by step, time-stamped, with Ghost as my silent chorus. She bags the evidence, photographs the safe, taps a stud finder along the baseboard, and nods at the groove leading to the window. "Dolly wheel," she says, confirming the thing I already knew and still needed to hear. Someone rolled equipment in or out. Not a casual theft. The tech pops the sash and swabs the latch. "Mix of household dust and toner particulates," he says, squinting at the quick test strip. "Your nose was right." "It's his," I say, nodding at Ghost. "He called it first." "He can have my badge," the tech replies, and Ghost accepts the compliment by ignoring it. Mara's phone buzzes. She studies the screen with interest you usually reserve for plot twists. Bank log show test pings to 3 accounts at 3:12 the night before the funeral, she says. Micro deposits to validate routing, then a pause. Someone was gearing up to run the siphon as soon as donations hit daylight. "Clark," I ask. "2 shells deep," she says. But the pattern matches. Same registrar, same hosting for the email domain. They got lazy in a hurry. "We'll peel it." My own phone vibrates. A number I don't recognize. I step to the kitchen, thumb to answer, Ghost gliding with me like a shadow that refuses to detach. A voice like ice water. Mr. Kane. This is Jonathan Clark. He said it like it's a name he was born with. Ghost's ears angle toward the speaker. You have something that belongs to my firm. The voice continues. A keycard. A piece of blue plastic that opens doors more efficiently than subpoenas. You've been to a lot of funerals for someone I've never met, I say. Poor hobby. A light chuckle. The dead make life go more smoothly. Estates are complicated. Emotions are exploitable. Ghost rumbles, soft and primal. I picture a cheap navy suit with perfect hems and a face you forget until it smiles at you in a crowd. You're interfering with a transition your father wanted expedited, he says. You're costing beneficiaries. You misspelled stealing, I say. Common error. A pause. The kind where men choose between charm and threat. He goes with charm sharpened to a point. You were good overseas, Mr. Kane. Quiet. Efficient. This is me extending the same courtesy. Return the card. Ease this. It all lands where it was going anyway, just with less spectacle. Meet me at St. Jude's Annex in an hour, I say. Bring your courtesy. I'll bring mine. You're brave for a man with one dog. Bravery is cheaper than regret. He hangs up. Ghost tilts his head, reading everything my pulse won't hide. Back in the study, I give Mara the quick beat. She clicks her tongue. Do not meet him alone, she says. I will be at St. Jude's in 50 minutes. If he shows early, you stay in public space and you do not take bait. I'll bring Ghost, I say. I didn't say don't bring backup, she replies, and we are briefly the same kind of person. An hour later, the annex hall is empty but for the humming vending machine and a bulletin board with flyers for grief groups and tax prep assistants. I choose a chair with the wall to my back and the exit in my peripheral. Ghost lies sphinx-like at my boot, eyes open, the exact distance from sleep a sentry takes. Clark arrives on time like men who think punctuality is a virtue that covers moral debt. He is exactly the silhouette from the SUV. Taper fade, sunglasses he removes slowly, a watch that would pay a year's mortgage, a smile he's rented from a better actor. Mr. Kane, he says, extending a hand he expects to be taken. I let it hang. He withdraws it like a man folding a knife. Keycard, he says simply. Documents, I reply. A list of every account you touched. And a signed statement that my brother acted under your instruction. He laughs with genuine pleasure. Negotiation. Excellent. But you mistook leverage for hope. Ghost breathes in through his nose and lets it out in a sound like a thought. Clark flicks his eyes down. Beautiful animal. Shame to waste him on sentiment. He's not sentimental, I say. He's precise. Clark leans against the vending machine like gravity is a rumor. Here is how this works, he says. You return the tool. I delay the siphon until the freeze lifts on its own because judges don't like killing philanthropy. We reposition. By the time your paperwork finds daylight, the money will be in projects with other names. Everyone applauds. You get a ribbon cutting. Your father's vision lives with my fingerprints. That's compromise. Or, I say, you walk away, we unwind what you started, and a judge gets a crash course in how men like you attend funerals. He sighs as if I'm the one being unreasonable. This is why soldiers make poor administrators. You confuse lines on a battlefield with lines on a ledger. Lines are lines, I say. You cross them or you don't. Mara appears behind him with the quiet some people never notice. Two plainclothes flanking, a uniform at the end of the hall. She doesn't look at me. She addresses the air in front of Clark with the voice of a person who never raises it and never needs to. Jonathan Clark, she says. Detective Singh. I have questions about your firm's relationships with the Kane Foundation and 3 other estates in the last year. He doesn't turn. The sunglasses return to his face like a mask docking. Officer, he says, tone smooth. Always a pleasure to help civil servants understand efficiency. You'll help best by not moving while I serve you notices, she says, and an officer materializes a manila envelope like a magic trick that hurts. He accepts the papers with 2 fingers as if they might stain. He glances at me. Your dog will outlive your virtue, he says softly, a private curse dressed as prophecy. Maybe, I say. but he'll still be on my side. Clark leaves with his smile intact and his timetable shattered. Mara watches him go like a mathematician studies a proof. Not whether, but how. Nice stall, she says. We needed him in a public spot for service. Thought you might, I say. She eyes Ghost. He reads him like a book. He reads everyone like a book, I say. Some people are pamphlets. On the way out, Mrs. Delaney catches us in the hall with an energy I don't expect. She holds up her phone, comments lighting it like a candle. It's everywhere, she says. The photo of Rex, your ghost, at the funeral, guarding the casket. Someone posted it with your father's quote about clean corners. People are donating to the center from out of state. They're saying they'll wait for the right hands to hold the money. The marrow-deep anger I've been carrying shifts, not lighter, but aligned. We'll give them the right hands, I say. That afternoon, the freeze order lands in 3 banks. The siphon pauses like a thief caught with one leg over a fence. Ethan's lawyer calls Mara. A meeting is set. Mrs. Delaney brings ledgers and a box of cookies because some battles are fought with sugar. Abel prints logs and underlines the squares that Mint set aside. People who don't know they're brave do brave things. At dusk, I take Ghost to the ridge behind the workshop. The cedar tree still bears the scar from when Ethan fell and broke his arm. We were kids. Dad wrapped him with a belt and carried him half a mile because the truck was dead and the light was going. Corners clean, he muttered the whole way, as if bones could be persuaded by carpentry. Ghost noses my palm. The sky goes lavender. In the distance, the new community center's steel bones glow under work lights. For the first time, I can see it the way Dad drew it. Doors open, light spilling. A text from an unknown number lands with a weight it doesn't earn. A QR code. No words. I scan it with a burner. A site with a plain white page. 1 line. Next, scholarship endowment. Rename in process. Clark isn't done. He's just pivoted. So do we. I crouch, hand on Ghost's collar, feeling the electricity under his skin that says go and the discipline that says wait. We finish this, I tell him. He leans into my hand. Then he looks toward the glow of the center like he understands blueprints. Some wars you fight with teeth. Some you fight with paper. The important thing is keeping the doors open. The arrest doesn't sound like a car crash. It sounds like paper. Warrants sliding across oak. Orders read in careful voices. Pens tapping chain of custody lines. When the cuffs click on Ethan later that afternoon, they're quiet enough to hear him swallow. Mara keeps it clean. White collar isn't a hallway spectacle. It's a schedule. Ethan's lawyer rides the edge between cooperation and theater. He chooses no contest on forgery and fraud pending restitution, angling for minimal jail and maximum probation. It's not mercy. It's math. Ghost watches from the doorway with the same eyes he used at the funeral, measuring intent, not volume. When the room empties, Ethan asks to talk to me without the tape running. It's a small ask. I agree anyway. They put us in a consultation room with a table that's seen more bargains than lunches. The fluorescent lights hum like insects. Ghost lies in the corner, head down, eyes up, a quiet truth in a room built for arguments. Ethan doesn't start with sorry. He starts with, do you remember the cedar tree? He's already in my head. You fell because you wouldn't wait, I say. I fell because you climbed higher, he says, mouth twisting into something that isn't quite a smile. You were always above me. Dad taught you how to be first. He taught me how to hold the ladder. You could have climbed, I say. I did, he answers. I just chose a different tree. Silence draws a thin line between us. He looks down at his cuffed hands like they're an outfit he didn't order. I wanted him to see me, he says finally, the words pulled through gravel. Not because I was the one who stayed. Because I was the one who finished something. You could have finished the right thing, I say. He nods, once. I thought I could do both. Get the project launched faster and get out from under your shadow in one motion. Clark promised I'd be the one giving speeches. He laughs once, soft and mean at the edges. Turns out being on stage doesn't feel like being seen when it's not your money. Ghost shifts, a low chuff, like he's voting on a truth. Ethan glances over, then back to me. Does he hate me? He doesn't waste emotions on what he can read, I say. He just chooses. He nods again, smaller. Then so do I, he says, and looks at the mirror that everyone knows is glass over eyes. I'll fix what I can. Not for you. For him. He means Dad. He means the man who circled open twice on a blueprint so a kid could walk in without asking a guard for permission. In the hallway, Mara leans against the jamb with a file like a blunt instrument. We've got the freeze extended, she says. Banks are cooperating. Clark's attorney is making noises about philanthropic harm, which tells me we're close to his nerve. We'll get restitution, but it'll take 12 signatures and one judge who likes coffee. I can handle coffee, I say. We know, she says, almost smiling. Also, your dog has a fan club. I blink. She tilts her head toward the waiting area. A cluster of kids in school sweatshirts are gathered around a TV showing local news. B-roll of the funeral photo Mrs. Delaney pushed online. Ghost at the casket like a sentry carved from loyalty. The cheerin reads, K9 keeps vigil. Community rallies behind center. In the captions, someone quotes Dad about corners and sleep. Ghost doesn't look at the screen. He looks at the exit and the door and the air in between for men in navy suits that smell like fresh toner. By evening, the center account is stabilized and a separate emergency fund opens. Small donations funneling in from far zip codes because people like to help when the story's clean. Abel brings ledgers and underlines every box with the tiny squares. Each mark a small rebellion. Mrs. Delaney cooks lasagna like ammunition and feeds the room until tempers soften. A public statement goes out from the foundation board. Patience, prudence, accountability. 3 words my father used the way some men use weapons. At home, the workshop breathes sawdust and oil and Sunday afternoons. I pull the real blue folder Dad told me to guard and spread the contents across the workbench. The center plan with his pencil arguments in the margins, a timeline that assumes delays because he lived in the real world, a donor list with notes like, thank her son personally. He wants to learn welding. Ghost climbs the 2 steps from the mudroom and pauses at the threshold because he doesn't enter the workshop unless invited. Dad made that rule. I wave him in. He sits by the stool like he belongs there, which he does. I pour 2 fingers of something amber into a jelly jar and don't drink it. The night holds still. Outside, crickets rehearse old songs. Inside, the clock clicks steady, a metronome for promises. I find the letter again, the one in Dad's block letters that trailed off at the end of my name. The last paragraph isn't instructions. It's confession. If there's a fight, he wrote, let truth take the blows. You taught me that, Alex. You and that dog of yours. I used to think finishing meant being first. I was wrong. It means ending right. I don't realize I'm crying until Ghost stands and sets his chin on my knee, weight solid, eyes steady, a ballast you can hold on to without looking weak. I laugh through it, a short, broken sound. We'll end it right, I tell him. The next morning, restitution talks begin with arithmetic that climbs too slowly. Clark's counsel tries to shave time off the freeze with talk of public utility and inevitable dispersion. Mara counters with chain of custody, dates, imprints, the pixel anomalies in the PDF where a fresh signature was pasted on an old authorization. Judges love imprints. They have the smell of accidental truth. Ethan waves the preliminary fight he could make to seem strong. He signs the first of many pages with hands that don't shake. Tell Mrs. Delaney I'm sorry, he says without looking up. Tell Abel he was right to double-check boxes. You can tell them yourself, I say. I don't want them to have to look at me while they say what they should say, he answers. It's the first time in a long time he's chosen the hardest version of a thing. When we walk out, the hallway is full of small, necessary people. Volunteers. Account clerks. A janitor who has seen cleanup you won't write about. They move around Ghost like he's furniture blessed by a pastor. A kid bumps my elbow with a pen and a program. Is he the dog? She asks, wide-eyed. Her mother flushes. She means, he's the dog, I say. His name is Ghost. The girl kneels and holds out a fist. Ghost sniffs, then touches it with his nose. She beams like she's been deputized. Thank you, she says to him, then whispers to me, for not letting them close the doors. We're just keeping corners clean, I say, and realize how much of my father lives in the way I talk when I'm trying not to break. That night, I drive with Ghost to the ridge line. The center's frame glows under temporary lights, a skeleton dreaming of muscle. I park, kill the engine, and listen to the quiet. Ghost hops down, trots ahead, and stops at the cedar tree, putting one paw on the scar where the bark never grew back smooth. He looks at me. It feels like a question. Almost, I say. One more push. Behind us, tires whisper on asphalt. The black SUV slides into view at the bottom of the slope, idles, then rolls on. No window dips. No face shows. Just a presence like weather. Let 'em watch, I say. Some men only understand a story when they see the ending. Ghost leans against my leg. The world smells like cut grass and cooling steel. For the first time since the funeral, my breath doesn't feel like I have to remember how. We'll dedicate soon. We'll hang Dad's portrait at eye level, never above heads, because he hated pedestals. We'll set the cedar table in the reading room and let kids run their fingers over the grain he sanded himself. We'll make the doors easy. We'll keep them open. And when the next move comes, as it always does with men like Clark, we'll be ready with paper, with patience, with a dog who reads the air and a family that finally chose truth over image. That's the fallout, not ash. Foundation. The dedication day smells like new paint and cedar, the same tree Dad milled into a long table where hands will rest and stories will stop shaking. Sun throws clean rectangles across the lobby floor. Volunteers tape the last directional arrows, straighten the flyers for tutoring sign UPS, wipe a smudge from the plaque that doesn't have anyone's name bigger than the others. Doors open easily. That was the point. Ghost patrols the perimeter without touching a single cupcake. He drifts to thresholds and pauses, reading people like weather, joy, nerves, one pocketed hand that relaxes when he looks at it. Kids in collared shirts whisper, "That's him," and then forget to be shy. He accepts a fist bump from a boy who smells like pencil shavings and victory. Abel adjusts his tie as if he borrowed it from Courage. Mrs. Delaney's eyes are already wet. Mara stands back from the crowd in plain clothes, a ghost of a badge at her belt, phone on silent, gaze on entry points. You could pass for relaxed, I say. I trained that look, she says. It saves on laundry. The mayor grips my hand and says the right things about community and legacy. A state rep says the longer things. I'm supposed to speak last. I hate last. It gives men like Clark time to arrive. They do. A black SUV idles across the street, angled like a question. The passenger window drops. The driver is nobody on purpose. The passenger isn't. Clark wears a charcoal suit that makes him look like a press release. He doesn't get out. He lets the car be his presence. Ghost notices first. He doesn't growl. He locks. Ears high. Shoulders set. I put a hand on his withers, a weight that says, not yet. I step to the mic. The feedback is minimal, good omen. The crowd quiets the way flocks do when the wind changes. My father believed in easy doors, I begin. He said if it takes two hands to pull one open, it's not a public building. It's a private club. He hated clubs. A ripple of small laughter. It helps. He also believed in clean corners, I continue. Not because he loved rules for their own sake, but because he slept better when nothing in the room could cut you in the dark. I see Clark through the glass, watching me like he's measuring drywall. Ghost flicks an ear. He smells the chemicals of a detailer's wax and the iron of brake dust and something colder. The intent that rides a man's pulse when he thinks he still has moves. We had a choice, I say, between fast and right. We chose right. It took longer. It took help. It took a dog who doesn't lie to himself. Laughter again, warmer. Ghost doesn't react. Compliments are for later. I nod to Abel, to Mrs. Delaney, to the volunteers who made copies and cookies. People who don't think they're brave did brave things. I say, you squared the corners. Now we can sleep. And work. Applause rises, honest and close. I let it stand. Then I land where I planned to land, and where Clark doesn't want me to. There's one more door, I say, voice lower. A scholarship endowment with my mother's name on it. Someone tried to rename it. Tried is the right tense. We froze that too. We'll unfreeze it when the right hands are on the keys. Clark's sunglasses tilt. The SUV's engine notes change, just enough to sound like impatience. I lift a hand and point past the crowd to the building itself. We're dedicating this place today, I say. But the story doesn't end. If you want to keep these doors open, come back tomorrow. If you try to close them, I rest my palm on Ghost's collar. We've got a partner who smells lies. Ghost barks once. Not loud. Clean. The sound cuts the summer air like a flag snapping. Applause breaks again, not polite this time. There's relief in it. People like an ending that promises more chapters. The ribbon cuts. Cameras clap. A child forgets to wait and runs through the doors that open like they're happy to do it. During the tour, Clark sends a courier because men like him never hand you anything you can hand back. A slim envelope, cream paper, heavy stock, no return address. Inside, a single card with a QR code and a sentence printed in clean serif. Philanthropy requires flexibility. I flip the card. Blank. Ghost sniffs it, sneezes once, and looks bored. I pocket it and pass the courier's face to the corner of memory where Ghost stores scents. Mara materializes, reads my eyes, and pockets the card in an evidence sleeve. We'll trace the site, she says, or it'll 404 by lunch. Either way, he wanted the gesture more than the result. We walk the reading room. Sun pours across the cedar table Dad made. A little girl runs her fingers over the grain, palms flat, eyes closed, like she's petting a living thing. Her mother mouths thank you without sound. It lands heavier than the mayor's handshake. Reporters ask for a quote. I give them one that doesn't mention villains. We finished the right fight, I say. Now we start the long work. They want more edge. I don't give it. Edge is cut. We need hands. Afternoon leans into evening. The crowd thins. Volunteers stack chairs without scraping. Abel locks petty cash with reverence. Mrs. Delaney stands in the doorway of the reading room and stares at the light like she could live on it. He'd like this, she says. She doesn't say my father's name. She doesn't have to. Outside, the black SUV is gone. In its place, a paper business card is tucked under the truck wiper. The same serif. The same blank back. Ghost noses it, then stares at the hedge line. I bend, lift the hedge skirt with a finger. Brown loam. No boot marks. Whoever slipped the card does handstands or patience. At home, the house exhales guests and inhales quiet. Ghost circles the living room once, decides the window facing the drive is tonight's post, and drops with a sigh that sounds like satisfaction with a sliver of reserve. We are not done. We are allowed to act like we might be. I make coffee I won't finish and open the last drawer Dad marked someday. Inside, a worn contractor's pencil, a tape measure with a cracked belt clip, and an index card with a list written in 3 different inks across 3 months. Library. Tool library. Night school for vets. Welding for teens. At the bottom, a line that hits like a palm between the shoulder blades. If we can't build all, build open. The phone buzzes. It's Ethan from the county facility, 2 minutes approved. I step onto the porch with the night. Ghost lifts his head, decides the call is mine, and puts his chin back on his paws. Ethan's voice is smaller, but not hollow. I saw the feed, he says. He'd have liked the table. He made it, I say. A long breath whistles through the line. Tell Mrs. Delaney I'll write her, he says. No excuses. I will. Silence. Then, I'm not asking you to forgive me today. I'm not offering it today, I say. We'll see how you finish. He laughs, and for 1 second, he sounds like we're 15 and the truck won't start and Dad is teaching us to pop the clutch on a hill. Finish right, he says, and hangs up before the words can sound like begging. I sit on the steps until the coffee cools and the insects change shifts. Clark will pivot. He'll try the endowment through a different shell or push headlines with a whisper campaign about obstructionist heirs. He'll call donors from out of state and sell them speed. He'll test how loud silence can be if you write it on nice paper. We'll counter with boredom. with reconciliations, with call logs and copies and volunteers who double-check boxes and kids who ask to put their names on the first library card of their life, with a detective who likes corners and a dog who counts breaths in crowds, with doors that don't stick. Before bed, I walk the fence line with Ghost. The night wind moves through the pines like someone breathing deep after bad news. At the back gate, he stops and looks toward the road where taillights hum and plans are made by men who mistake moving for progress. Let him try, I say. We'll still be here. Ghost leans into my leg and looks up, waiting for the only command that matters once you've chosen a fight worth finishing. Stay, I tell him. He does. And so do I.